And good evening, everyone. ESS, Empire State Sports, proudly presents the Wise Guy Sports Talk Show with your host tonight, Joey Realm, and myself, Pete Goslaw. Our other host, Dave Bartlett, is a little under the weather. We hope he feels better. And our special guest tonight is Marianna Locke from Brazier Falls, a big St. Lawrence Central area. So welcome to the show, Marianna.
Thanks. Excited to be here.
A lot to talk about tonight. I'm going to let the hometown guy start it off for us. So I'll kick it over to Joy.
All right. I've been looking forward to this because you are not a replacement for your father because your father can't figure out Zoom. We wanted you on all along, Marianna. Don't be thinking that you're just taking Dad's place, okay? So been pretty excited about this to be able to have you on. And first of all, let's what's going on in your life right now when it comes to it's something that we've been leading into with most of our guests. How is this whole situation with the virus and everything? How's this impacting what's going on in your world right now?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm really fortunate because my life has sort of stayed the same, I guess. I'm at St. Lawrence, so we kind of went to the other St. Lawrence, my second St. Lawrence, I guess. We kind of went to remote learning. So I finished up the semester there. It's always a privilege to live in the North Country. So I've been able to get out, get some trail runs in and, appreciate nature. It's been a nice spring. So things have been sort of the same in that regard. And I guess now moving towards summer, I'm trying to finish up my doctorate. So this is kind of forcing me to focus on that and allow me quite a bit of time and space to kind of complete that. So I hate to say it's a good thing because certainly it's been a challenge, in regards to life and, the economy. But for me, it's allowed me to kind of pause. And when you get that opportunity in life to, it's always so busy. So I've been able to kind of pause and, I mentioned get a couple golf rounds in, which is something I haven't been able to do lately. So just kind of a slowdown, but a good reminder of what's important in life and try to focus on those things.
Well, we'll definitely get some Meadowbrook chat in later. Because I want to hear some story. I want to hear the stories when you bring somebody playing Meadowbrook for the first time. I want to hear what they got to say. But before that, let's dive into the basics of this show. Is we want to hear some North Country stories, and whether you think so or not, Marianna, you're kind of a pioneer. You're a legend in the sport of women's hockey up here in the North Country. And why don't you give us a little background on playing at St. Lawrence Central, the other sports you also played, but how this all led to you end up going to St. Lawrence University and playing Division I women's hockey?
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to play soccer, hockey, and softball. Really proud Larry, still bleed the blue and white. And I loved my time with soccer, but softball was something I really enjoyed. Tim Brown was great group of girls. So we didn't have quite as much success maybe as the years to follow, but it was just a really good experience. But hockey obviously was my passion. And I think it was, thinking back, I grew up playing with a lot of really great guys. And they were so supportive and inclusive. And I do a lot of my work now is around gender and sport, to be surrounded at such a young age with young men who, included me and supported me and challenged me and, recognized me as an equal is something I think was really unique. So, Ian Helmer, Justin Brothers, Dennis DeLay, Jimmy, Mikey, Tommy Keenan, the full gang, they were just a great group of guys. And I was able to kind of continue playing with them, practicing them with them, to hopefully, again, my goal was to play Division I. And, with the pace, the decision-making, the on-ice reps, I guess you would get with playing, varsity, that allowed me to kind of pursue my goal. And they were so supportive. So there's no way, I would be able to do what I was able to do or be where I am today without that group of guys. And I knew it at the time how special they were, but now looking back, again, I can't say enough how supportive they were. And how grateful I am that I had such a good group of guys in my life.
So was playing for dad and playing boys hockey, was that always going to be the option? Did dad have to talk you into it? Was it something you
Yeah.
wanted to do? Was it something that you knew if I want to play hockey, this is what I'm going to have to do? How did that all come
Yeah.
about?
Well, that was never the plan at all, actually. It kind of, I guess I was, heading into my freshman year of high school, and we had, my dad was like, maybe you could, practice with the team. Again, you get on ice reps. At St. Lawrence, we're very lucky. You have ice time from, let's say, I don't know, 2:45 to, practice starts at 3:25. So you have all that space to be creative and work on skills, which is really, I think, special. That's something that St. Lawrence Central has that other schools don't have. And then you have all this practice time. So, we were just thinking, I get the reps, I get to play with the guys in a practice sense. And then I was still competing on a women's hockey team, like to kind of for recruiting purposes and, to have some in-game puck time. So that was kind of how my freshman and sophomore year transpired. And then my dad kind of pitched it to me the summer heading into my junior year. And I was not really excited about that. I didn't really, didn't foresee that being a reality. And actually some of the guys were like, you should play, you practice with us every day. Why don't you play? So I ended up playing my junior and senior year. I think kind of a collaborative piece between my dad and, again, some of the guys that I mentioned earlier supported me. And it turned out to be a great experience. Kind of unique. I think if I think of like the Mahonies, I think of, Mike coaching his son Mark right now. I feel like that's an interesting dynamic, having a father-son, and then you toss in a father-daughter. So, but it all worked out okay. A few times, I remember one time actually we were just chatting about this over the weekend. We were playing a game and I actually got lit up pretty good right by the bench, and Justin Brothers was like, kind of protector always. He goes, it takes a real tough guy to hit a girl, and he said that to the other guy from the bench. And then my dad just looks down the bench and is like, if she wants to play here, she needs to take a hit. And I was just like, oh, just, whatever, Dad. So I come back to the bench. So it was it wasn't planned. It just kind of evolved that way. And again, I was really fortunate to have the support of the guys to kind of include me in that opportunity, which definitely helped me improve. And, I was able to play at St. Lawrence University because of that time.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to try to hear your dad talking into playing boys hockey. I really
gosh. It was funny.
Must have been a great conversation.
Well, it was, I actually played with the guys, and I took like kind of a 2 or 3 year break to play just women's hockey. And then coming back, I don't really know. I just had a lot of respect and trust for my dad. So I was like, I guess he pitched it at me as bigger, stronger, faster. Want to get to the next level. You're always trying to gain an edge over competition. This will do it. So it certainly did present that opportunity. It was funny because then the guys were, I don't know how well you know my dad or if you know my dad, Pete, but Joey can speak to this. Mm-hmm. Okay. So he's very, he's very goofy. He's very likes to joke, always smiling. But he's a totally different guy. It's Jekyll and Hyde on the rink. So a lot of the guys are like, does he ever smile? And, I see the other side of him. But at the same token, I have to ride home with him after a game. So it's very silent, stone cold air if it didn't go well. If it did go well, then we could have a little bit more engagement. But it was kind of just, it all happened pretty quickly, but definitely wasn't planned.
That's one of my questions too, because I want to know more about those rides home, because we've talked about this before with father and son relationships, and now it's a father-daughter relationship. But I do know, I just want to give you a little background. We have interviewed your father in the past, and I've seen him at the arenas battling it out with Tama River, where I'm from, years ago with Bill Plant and him.
Yeah.
So two very animated coaches. Are very much in the game, but I want to hear more about those trips home and how that went, because there's got to be, there's going to be some highs and lows with everything.
Yeah, actually, the ride to the bus is also quiet. He says he never gets nervous, but he's very quiet. And if you know him, he's never shy of a second helping of anything. So like before a game, there's not a lot of food, not a lot of chat, and then after the game, depending on how it goes, maybe a celebratory cocktail, and then you have the second helping of whatever. But at the same time, he takes his space, but he's one thing I really appreciate about him as a coach, and then taking this into different realms and different domains, is his feedback. He's very mindful and purposeful. He does take some time and space, but he's able to give a good critical analysis of an individual performance or a team performance. So the rides home were generally quiet regardless, and then once we got home, we were able to engage about maybe team play and then individual play for me. And then of course the next morning, the guys always wanted to know what the debrief was, and then what to look forward to or dread in practice. So yeah, there was a lot of talk. He loves the sport, so I get my passion from him, certainly. So we still can chat about old games, or just a college hockey game here and there. So I can't think of one in particular, I guess, night that was better or worse, but yeah, his intensity lasts through the evening, especially if it's not a check in the right column.
Yeah, I know as old players, when we grow up and we become coaches, that fire in the belly still stays there. It's just that we can't perform like we used to. So I'm sure he's still got a lot of fire in the belly. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Hasn't mellowed with age, for sure.
Well, the fact that he's still doing it, I'm not gonna. Well, my age is out there, Marianna. There's no need for you to know what it is, but he coached for 5 years before I graduated from high school. He had been coaching for 5 years, so it's mind-boggling to me how long he's been doing this, and tells me he's coming back next year. So
no, it's crazy. I mean, I think he's going to have the first grandson coming along soon, because he had Richie, the inaugural class, and then Mark obviously had a tremendous career, and now we've got Kane and Quinn. Who knows how long he'll be there? So
he's making me stick around, because I'm going to feel guilty if I leave before he does. So
it's a good thing, Joe. You're doing good stuff, so we need you to stay in place there.
So as the career wound down playing for Dad, was SLU the destination? Were you recruited by anybody else? Were you hopeful of another location, but SLU won you over? How did that all come about?
Yeah, I was really fortunate. I had a pretty good selection to choose from. I wasn't really interested in any of the WCHA schools, Minnesota or Wisconsin. They were a bit big for me, and I'm a small town girl, so I knew that I probably wouldn't like the buzz there. I was really pretty adamant I wanted to go Ivy. I had, I think, a little bit of that glam. I liked, maybe at that time in my life, I thought that, that distinction would be nice. And then I visited Yale and Dartmouth, was chatting with Harvard. So I was pretty much set on those schools. And then I went to visit St. Lawrence, which obviously was going to be in the cards. And Paul Flanagan was the coach there. And I had known him for quite a while. He kind of, I wanted to visit, I visited these other schools. I really, really liked Dartmouth. That was probably, if I wouldn't have gone SLU, I would have gone to Dartmouth. But, I walked into Appleton, and, it just feels like home. It felt like I was playing in Tri-Town. I felt like I could, my hometown roots were there. Again, all of my family, but my dad particularly has been so important into my, hockey passion and I guess opportunity. So it wasn't important for him to be there and be able to see home games. So I ended up at St. Lawrence, but I did have for a while, I was looking throughout the Ivy circuit, but ended up at St. Lawrence, gratefully, for lots of reasons, with people and experiences. But I would say my first recruiting experience was in 4th grade. and it's from Mrs. Mahoney. So Mike's mom was my 4th grade teacher. And I love this because we were doing Mad Minutes, and if you win a Mad Minute, you pick a pencil or a sticker from the goodie jar. And Mike's wife Pam Mahoney was the assistant coach at St. Lawrence at this time for the women's team, and I won the Mad Minute for whatever. And Mrs. Mahoney had an autographed hockey stick from all the St. Lawrence women's hockey team. And I think right there was the first plug of St. Lawrence in my head. So I kind of had it in the cards from Mrs. Mahoney. I would like to say she's the reason I ended up here. And we still kind of joke about that when I see her over at the lacrosse field or something. But yeah, it was kind of a long winding circuit, but I definitely ended up in the right place. Clearly, I'm still here.
But and a plus is it's close to home, so family can go and watch your games and stuff like that. At that point, so
absolutely, I was really fortunate. I had like the Carvels, my parents, the Roys. These are all great family friends. They would always come and support, so that was good for the whole women's hockey team. And I would say, in my 4 years, I think my dad missed maybe 7 games. I mean, my first game was in Minnesota. He flew out to watch the first game out there. I remember one game, it was like in the winter, I don't know, let's say a snowy February. Missed the Friday game at Quinnipiac, drove 7 hours to Princeton to watch us play a 4 p.m. game, and then drove back, and I felt so bad. I was like, Dad, you don't have to, whatever. And he's like, no worries, it's worth it. The only thing is we tied 4-4. He's like, it would have been nice if we would have won. But so yeah, it was definitely the right decision. I met great friends, my best friends still during that time. And it just reminded me so much of my experience going to St. Lawrence Central. That family atmosphere. I loved going around Canton and knowing the people and faces. And again, it was really important for me to have my family kind of along for the ride. And they certainly were. They hosted turkey dinner and Thanksgiving every year, and definitely hosted a few rounds of golf for the girls as well.
So I wrote down, it's funny you mentioned them, because I wrote down, I'm like, geez, Marianna got to play at the Tri-Town Community Center, which is, it's a relic around here in our parts. Whether you like it or not, from out of this area, we do. It's our barn, and you got to play at Appleton.
Yeah.
So I mean, two North Country places that you think of immediately when you think hockey in the North Country. But I'm going to ask you this: what was your next favorite barn to play in? What was it? High school or hockey? I look forward to going to this place to play a game.
Yeah, in high school, it definitely would be Messina Arena. I think I love the ice there. I think that's a beautiful rink, kind of similar old wood to Appleton. Pete probably wouldn't like the Tri-Town Civic Center because
been up there several times.
Although you had a good track record there. And I think in my college days, my favorite rink would probably be I really loved Yale's rink. It was just a little bit the Yale Whale. It's a kind of a cool design, and the corners were just a little bit bigger. So it kind of suited my game. I like to play behind the net. So maybe a little bit selfish reasons there. I always seemed to have a good road weekend when I was playing there. But yeah, I love Messina Arena. Really fast, good ice. And I think Yale would probably be my favorite road trip in the college circuit.
When as your career began, as you were closing in on your senior season and at St. Lawrence, at that time, were there aspirations to move on, play hockey past your college career? Was there any involvement with USA Hockey for you? And I'm sorry that I don't know that. I feel like I should. But
no.
what was the aspirations when it came to the sport of hockey as you were ending your career at SLU?
Yeah, so I was involved with US. I was on select teams going, I think from U17 level through the U22 US program. Not at the time, Katie Stone was the head coach. She's is currently the head coach at Harvard and has been for a while, I guess. So I was in the mix there, but we had a sit down heart to heart, and she's like, "You're not going to make the team. There's probably going to be some young guns coming through." So I got the axe in the program. I guess that would have been my junior year at St. Lawrence University. And I kind of knew that would probably be it. So my senior year, there was no, future national aspirations once I got cut from the program, which was fine. They ended up doing very well. So I'm happy with the gold medals the girls finished with. But I was planning on actually after my senior year playing, just going to go to Europe, just travel, play a little hockey, kind of prolong the real world, I guess. And then out of nowhere, about 2 weeks before I graduated from St. Lawrence, I'm still planning to go play across the pond somewhere. And my coach, I guess my senior year, Chris Wells, took over. And he just kind of said, Union College has an opening. They want to know if you're interested in applying. So I was like, sure. I mean, I'll apply. It would probably be good practice to get an interview in. And I ended up getting the job. So I went to Union, coached for a year. So that kind of, I was like, I've been out of the game for a year. I don't know if going abroad's, the best idea now. So I ended up going from Union. I worked for the Columbus Blue Jackets for a year. And then I ended up going back for my master's. So I did hope to play across the pond, like I said, more so just to kind of continue with hockey, certainly, but I guess to kind of get some leisure experience in as well. But yeah, I had the job opportunity, and it was I'm happy I took advantage of that. It was a good learning experience and a great school. So basically hung them up right after senior year St. Lawrence SLU.
So two-part question for me then. Do you still skate with a stick in your hand once in a while when you can? And number two, do you have any aspirations at all of becoming a coach in the future?
Yeah, so I used to play, I recently moved to Canton, I guess, in the last 2 years. So I used to live in Ottawa, and I played in a beer league there. There was quite a few NCAA women's hockey players that kind of collectively settled there. And I guess a few CIS, which is the equivalent of the NCAA, but on the Canadian side. So I played once a week in a beer league there, which was really fun. But I haven't played too much since moving back to Canton. I played maybe once or twice this winter with Pam Mahoney and Barrett Wolf and a couple local guys over at the Canton Pavilion, which was just a stone throw from me. But I don't play too much. Maybe it's a little bit of an ego issue. I'm just really pretty bad now. So I don't play too much, maybe once a year. I'm more of an outdoor pond hockey type girl anyways. And as for coaching, yeah, I think I follow, a lot of the local sports closely, and I'm very, very close with the women's program still. The coaching staff are some of my best friends, and I have the opportunity to teach some of the players. So I follow them really closely, quite the super fan. If I were to get into coaching again, I think it would be with a youth level. I love kids, and I think that would be where I would see coaching in my future. But I don't know, maybe anything beyond the 10-year max, I don't really foresee.
That's interesting because your father obviously has been around for years, and you have a lot of hockey knowledge to give, and I'm sure at the youth level it would be nice, but I didn't know if you were going to strive for anything higher, because you never know. Your decisions may change a little bit in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
If you do youth hockey and say, you know what, maybe I will do something more.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think just the youth is a real big draw for me because so many people have been so good to me. I mean, I think of Dave Stevens. I remember him on the ice. I was really young. He was one of the first coaches I had, and he's, a tremendous teacher of the game. I've had so many people be so good to me along the way. I think I want to give that back in an area where maybe we have a shortage. I know there's a lot of good coaches. I think of Joey in basketball. Randy Roy's been with my dad for years. I mean, these people are, masters of the game, so much to give. But I think maybe at the youth level, we have a little bit of a shortage. And that's one area where I'm very interested in, because I think we've lost some of that natural play. I think it's a bit too structured now. And if I could maybe infuse some of my, maybe my ideology, I would like to do it on the younger level. I actually teach now, and I think that's the same thing as coaching. I feel like I organize a class plan the same way I would organize a practice. And it's interesting because the students are really receptive to that. They enjoy that organization, that game plan, if you will. So I think I pull most of my my professional life. I think I just pull skills I've learned along the way in athletics to organize, and both me and I guess in the classroom setting, the students. So I still think I'm coaching, it's just in a different capacity, if that makes sense.
You know, one of the things, Marianna, that you would, when we kind of talked leading into this, you had mentioned how you loved unstructured play, and that it was something that is something that you believe in. And you know, it got me to thinking as a coach, because you know, when Toby was coming up through our system in basketball, that was my one time that I really dove into being a youth basketball coach. And one of the biggest compliments I ever got was, after many wins, coaches coming over to me, can you tell me what you're running for an offense? What are your plays? We don't have any plays.
Yeah.
We taught them how to play the game. And that was my thought process too. It's like, I'm not going to teach these guys plays in fifth grade. I want them to learn how to play, not plays. So would you say the same thing in hockey? Was that something that you believe in, that you would rather see straight, you know, just learning, and learning how to play the game without being go here, go there, XO, and all that stuff?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think it kills me when I walk into a rink and I see little 8-year-olds lined up, you know, learning D zone. It just, like, you know, let them be creative, you know, throw tennis balls, throw pucks. I think that movement piece is so important. And I think the youngest kids are the most creative kids because they're not stifled by structure. So yeah, I think less is more. I think kids can go. I know Helena still has, you know, a pretty famous outdoor rink where lots of people gather. And I think that's when you learn skills. You learn space. You learn when, you know, who's coming. You learn to find ice, find soft spots. It's nice. You have different varying skill levels too. Sometimes you dominate. Sometimes you have to work a little harder. So I think sometimes youth sports today, it's just so structured that kids don't have the opportunity to learn on their own. And then they're just kind of funneled into lanes, you know, playing lane soccer, lane hockey. And you see, like, you know, creativity being stifled. And I think it goes back to, you know, grassroots youth sports and just letting the kids play in a little bit more fluid manner and letting them have a bit more agency in the process, and, you know, just let them go. I think that's a huge problem in not just hockey, in various sports for sure. And you see that again. I think this is part of, I keep tying in education, but the two go hand in hand. This is the same thing for these kids that are sitting, you know, in the corner, a line of 12 to listen to coach talk. They've just sat in the classroom and, you know, are little robots in the classroom too. So they really don't get to speak and be creative and move and do on their own. So I think the more, you know, power we can give them, I think, you know, the better it will be in their development, whether it's, again, in the classroom or on the field or ice, whatever.
Well, I obviously agree with you there. I really think, especially at the youth level, it's so important just to let them play and teach them the game, whatever the sport, you know, hockey, soccer, basketball, lacrosse, whatever the game. Teach them the skills and teach them how to make decisions on their own. And the game is so much more enjoyable. All the games are, that I think, so much more enjoyable when kids have learned how to play the game. And that's when you can start adding the X's and O's, when they've learned how to play. It's so frustrating when I watch coaches try to dive into a X's and O's play with kids that aren't going to be able to accomplish it in the first place.
Right.
And there's nothing more frustrating for the kids, because they're trying to follow a diagram that they can't follow.
Exactly. And I think the other thing with, like, the more organic play is you get the touches. whether you're talking about, with a ball or handling the puck, you get so many more touches, whether, when you're waiting in line, the time you spend just stationary opposed to, handling the ball or puck or whatever, I think is huge. And I remember, it's just the small skill work. I remember when I was working for the Blue Jackets, I used to go down on my lunch break and I would watch, usually the opposing team take a pregame skate so I could see the different guys and what they would do. And regardless of team, they would split up and they would do small work. They'd be on the ice for 25 minutes. And they would do small skill work. So I'm like, if the NHL, the most elite players, I mean, Kisser can speak to this certainly better than I can, but if the most elite hockey players in the world are taking 25 minutes to just handle the puck, max reps and skills, why aren't we doing this at the youth level? And so, yeah, it always kind of clearly drives me crazy. I still get a little bit antsy about it. And I think that's why the kids, if you can, specialize sport, just go out back, play different sports, be a 3-sport athlete. We need that in North Country. We're short on numbers. So like play sports, you develop so many skills and movements and different muscle groups if you play, more than one sport. So I think that's just such an advantage to do.
And good for you and obviously you were one, but good for you, and you're proof positive. It would have been pretty easy for your mom and dad to just say, hey, let's focus on just hockey. And so glad that they didn't, because you're proof positive that you can get a D1 scholarship and still be a 3-sport athlete. It's mind-boggling to me how often I see that up here. No, he's just going to play lacrosse. No, he's just going to play hockey. No, he's just going to play basketball. It just is. Now that I'm an athletic director, it really kills me.
Yeah.
It really drives me nuts. Speak to a little bit more to that, where, you were a 3-sport athlete, and I'm going to assume that there were things that you were able to take from softball and soccer to the sport of hockey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just at the very surface level, it's just burnout. You have kids now that are so focused in, so concentrated on one goal, one objective. Is it hers? Is it his? Is it others? I think the burnout is a huge issue. I would not, as much as I love hockey, I wouldn't want to be playing all summer. But yeah, soccer, it's like any sport. You learn spacing. Every sport is triangles. You're still the same sporting concepts overlap, soccer, hockey, lacrosse. These are the same skills. And, it's just a cross training. It's plyometrics, it's explosive bursts on the soccer field. And then softball is hand-eye coordination. It's some sort of, I think softball was a lot of mental performance, which I didn't realize, like being mentally resilient. You're down 0-2. The same thing in hockey. You're not playing well. Just in hockey, you have the advantage of intermission or, shift work. You can kind of cool off. But I think the skills are very transferable and allows you to work in different areas from mental performance capacity, but certainly in a skill athletic performance capacity as well. So I think that was one of the things I'm most grateful for from a memories perspective and friends, experiences, that sort of thing. But I definitely think, playing soccer, playing softball, and I guess whatever other sports in the summer really helped me become a better hockey player and keep me focused and excited and didn't experience burnout and, keep things in perspective. So yeah, that was one thing I'm really grateful for. And I would certainly encourage my children to do if and when that is the case.
I agree with you on having a break in between sports also, and actually conditioning between one sport and another is totally different. Everybody can say, "Oh no, it isn't." What you do in soccer is going to be totally different what you do in hockey and lacrosse or softball. So the breakup is very important as far as I'm concerned in between sports. Yeah, we have enough stuff going on for leagues throughout the year where the kid could jump into it, but sometimes I agree with you with the burnout thing. Kids do get burned out these days, and they need that break.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think we have moved towards that, again, singular model. And I think you can connect that back to our youth sports. Now it's so structured, but not to be all, Bruce Springsteen's and glory days, but I do think, going back to the 2-3 sport model would be advantageous for the athlete in all capacities of wellness and in optimal performance too. So hopefully we can veer back in that direction.
But Marianna, I find it kind of funny that you've mentioned the Columbus Blue Jackets a couple of times, and here I am wearing. I finally broke down, but I figured I better start representing. I don't see anybody around St. Lawrence Central wearing Tampa Bay Lightning gear, so I finally I bought a hat, and but Columbus they ruined Kisser's season last year with a 4-0.
I know. Well, you know what? They're like a distant fan because there was no one that was, I was the worst ticket sales person ever. I would just want to chat, wanted to watch hockey. So it was a quick end for me with the Blue Jackets because my sales numbers weren't great. But I know I feel for Kisser. I'm hoping we were off to such a strong season. The timing of it is just brutal, but hopefully, because I have a feeling, I think he mentioned it to you guys that, Stanley might be taking a roll down, near Riverview. And I think we would not be short on those to gather and celebrate that potential victory. So I'm hoping, I don't know what it looks like. You must have the inside scoop, Joey. What did he say? Anything with the NHL coming back or?
Well, he had met, they have daily meetings with hopes that they might. One of the things that hockey has going for them is their TV partner is NBC, and NBC is begging for anything to be aired this summer because NBC does not own baseball. They don't. They already lost the British Open. They already lost Wimbledon. So there's not. They don't have a lot to air this. They lost the Olympics. So they don't have a lot. So they're like, hey, if you want to drag this out to football season, we don't have a problem with it. So it could happen. But I don't know. And I'm hopeful. I mean, I want to see it happen too because that would be. If it doesn't happen this year or whenever, but if Derek ever has a chance to bring the Stanley Cup to the town of Brazier,
oh my gosh,
I don't think I know. Obviously, every team and every person on every team gets a crack at that cup. But if the cup comes to Brazier, that cup will leave with more stories than it ever had gotten.
Oh, that's for sure.
So, is that do you ever sit there and think about that too? Where we're at with St. Lawrence Central, the amount of people that are still involved in hockey to varying degrees. Obviously, with Kisser now reaching the top, but how many we've sent on to play D1? We've got a couple now more coming with Carter Rose going to Clarkson and Will Arquette going to St. Lawrence University in a couple of years. It's mind-boggling to me what a small town hockey community has accomplished, and obviously you're one of them.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. We've never been short on great hockey people in Brazier. We're really lucky. Chris Bernard, coaching SUNY Potsdam. He was my favorite hockey player, I think, for the longest time. I don't know. I think we have good roots, and now with you, Joy, organizing a lot of youth basketball, we have I think it starts again at that level, and I think the community of Brazier and surrounding communities, it takes a lot of people willing to put in unpaid time and effort and work and energy and all these things, and we've had that. And I think when you have tradition, people want to be part of that and maintain it and understand the privilege and integrity that goes with that tradition and what it means to play as a Larry. So I think we have that magic, but certainly it's very intentional, and a lot of people do a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that tradition is, continues today. So I think that it's a big word, but I think a lot of people have contributed, and now you have, a lot of role models in lots of different realms. Chris here locally, and then of course Kisser, everyone follows him. First of all, he's a likable guy, very authentic, and then he's an easy guy to like, and Tampa Bay, I think, is the favorite of a lot of people in the Brazier area for sure.
So let's switch it up a little bit. Let's talk some golf.
Yes.
Okay. Meadowbrook. I'm sure that hits home. But how often you out swinging clubs now, and do you get back home enough to play on Meadowbrook?
Yeah, I was there last Saturday. I'm going to be there this weekend too. Since I've moved back to the area in Canton, I've been able to golf more. Once I finish this kind of ball and chain degree, I will be there more and more. But yeah, that Meadowbrook is kind of like that one space for me. That's the kind of an oasis. It's always very special. I always kind of fill up on energy when I'm not feeling good. Remember growing up there, running behind my dad with my sister Mand, chasing him with a soccer ball as he'd drive and change markers. We grew up there. So spent a lot of time there as kids, brought a lot of friends there. Pure fun. I golfed a lot of rounds with Ryan White there. He was my go-to partner throughout, middle school and into high school. And then, yeah. And again, once I had friends here, Mick and Kath entertained a good crew, seemed to have a beer cart pop in, which I didn't know we had whenever we made our way down. So yeah, lots of really good memories at Meadowbrook. And yeah, I can't not smile when I think of that place, especially knowing, my gram, all the time she spent there, and I didn't get to meet my grandpa, but to know that my dad's father built the place. So yeah, it's really, really special, very sentimental to all of us for sure. And then I see all the hard work my parents put in, and now that my dad's making Toby do. So yeah, it's my favorite place for sure. Appleton and Tri-Town are close second, but Meadowbrook, there's nothing like being out there on a late evening in July.
So how you hit them? How you gonna share? You gonna share us your score or what?
Well, I'll tell you two things. My best club is my foot wedge, and I'm a huge fluffer. So there's some mud on the ball. So
That's a North Country. That's a North Country.
It is, right?
Yeah,
so yeah, I hit it enough good ones to return for the next round, but enough bad ones to know I don't want to tell you my score.
That's no fair.
Well, I've always said, if your dad finds out that somebody had a good score, there's a new tree being planted or a new So.
Oh, absolutely. I remember jokingly, I said to my dad, this was when I was applying for my master's, and this is like such a response from him to me, but I was like, do you think I know I'm not that good, but could I be a walk-on somewhere? Just walk on somewhere. That way I could go to a couple cool courses and play. And I was working for my parents at the time, and he said, you should just stick to raking your bunker. So I was like, all right, I guess that's not in the cards. So I'll stick to raking the bunkers then.
Well, obviously that place, you talk about growing up there. I mean, that my father used to drop me off there. That was my babysitter growing up.
Yeah.
Was Meadowbrook. And, 40 years later, I get married at Meadowbrook, and
yes.
Now my son is now working at Meadowbrook for Mickey. So the place means the world to me. And, it's one of those little North Country things that it's been around now for 50 years. It's amazing that, Meadowbrook's been around that long. So it's a special place. And you're lucky that you can say that, it's kind of your own yourself, I would say.
Yeah, it is. It's really special. And, there's so many funny stories. I remember my dad saying his dad wanted to build the golf course just to be a leisure spot where people in the area could get together and have a good time and, be a bit active. And one of my favorite memories at Meadowbrook is Thursday morning, my dad has this skills to keep your game sharp. And it's with a lot of the regular, I don't know what older means, but older guys that golf at the golf course. And they are such funny older men. And it's hilarious because they play, and my dad will have two holes that are golf with a baseball or with oven mitts or with some strange rule. And to hear my dad tell them the games, and then to hear them be so confused and like bickering with each other. Yeah, it's just a good group of people there. Again, just really fortunate to be around a great group of people. And I know when my friends come to visit, they always want to get around in. My dad loves whenever, you know, Amanda or I bring big groups in. So yeah, it's just a great spot. And by saying that, I kind of reap the joys and benefits of it, but my parents work really hard. And I think that value is something that Mandy and I really appreciate and try to apply in our own lives, because, you know, they work very hard there. And so yeah, we're grateful for a lot they do there. They continue to do for us via the golf course too. So.
Well, Marianna, we got to wind things down here, but I can't thank you enough for coming on tonight, and you know, be able to talk Meadowbrook stories. Hey, he's going to be watching, so before we do, you got to give a shout out, because I'm going to make sure he watches this or listens to it. You got to give a shout out to Uncle Don.
Oh my gosh, I know. He, yeah, I mean, I don't even know the last time he was golfing there. I remember the last time he stopped golfing at the golf course because apparently he couldn't, you know, see the ball or couldn't find it. And then, you know, I hear this in the morning, and that afternoon I'm running and I see him driving. So he can't golf, but he's still driving. So yeah, he's kind of like the Jack Nicklaus of the place, and certainly the resident comedian with a heavy pour for his Manhattan. So yeah, he's the legend of Meadowbrook for sure.
But you talk about missing something right now. I am missing 4 o'clock Manhattans with Uncle Don. You know, I'm like, because like I'm not allowed into LBSH housing right now where he lives. You know, it's like it's a nursing home sort of situation.
Right.
Oh, so frustrating. I'm about ready. He has a window. I'm about ready to stand outside the window and have one that way with him. I'm on the verge of doing that.
Because you know he still is. I know.
Without a doubt, he's still having his.
Yeah, real quick. So my sister asked him a couple Christmases ago, you know, you're 99 at this point. Like, what have you done? Like, what's the secret? Like, what do you do? And you know how he can give us a really dry, like, serious look, and he goes, raise as much hell as you can before you're 25. And he kind of paused, and we're kind of chuckling because we're both over 25 at this point. And he goes, and then raise even more after. So, I mean, if you're still drinking a Manhattan a day, I mean, that's the key right there. Can't be too tight, can't be too loose. And he's just always never short of a joke. That's for sure.
We love Uncle Don. I know that.
Absolutely. Nicest guy.
Well, Marianna, I want to thank you for coming on. I've learned so much about you. Another part of the Locke story, which is very, very intriguing. And I want to thank you very much for coming on. Yeah,
thanks, Pete. Joy, it was really fun, and appreciate you guys doing this. Again, I love the North Country, and we have great people like you. So taking your time, and I'm sure I know a lot of people enjoy this. So thanks for all your efforts and what you do for us in the NoCo.
More than welcome. We appreciate it. We're going to sign off here now. For Joey Riem, myself, Pete Goslaw, and our special guest, Marianna Locke, this is ESS, Empire State Sports and the Wise Guy Sports Talk Show. We hope everybody stays safe out there. Good night.